This is the Fit Body Pro podcast, giving you the truths for you to burn the fat, build the muscle, and shape the body you want. You'll know how to transform your body, look the way you want, and put your health in the front seat. Chris Dufay is the authority on fat loss, physique, and getting you in shape. Results-based, proven insights, advice, and plans from the world's best that is pulling back the curtain for you to have the body and health you want faster, easier, and without fuss. It's time now to bring on Chris Dufay to give you the truths and advice you need.
Hola amigo, and welcome to the Fit Body Pro. I'm the Fat Loss Pro, Chris Dufay, and in this episode, you are going to have the deep insights and advice from a high-level trainer that I've had the pleasure of knowing for years that's doing some fantastic work, and that is Mark Ottobre. Mark and I are going to be digging our heels and opening up a very much needed topic that so many just pass right over. But it's my drive with the Fit Body Pro to give you all the insights, all the angles, and what's needed to get you the body and health that you want. So we're going to be delving into the mindset, how this is the limiting factor to not only your physique and health, but also crucial with your success, your business, your personal aspects, and your happiness. In this episode, we are unveiling post-comp depression and how you should really be going into and out of competition, eating disorders, how it's so common, and a few insights to make it easier for you, and importantly, how you can be getting and staying in great shape with a whole lot more. And I want to say a very big thank you for plugging the Fit Body Pro in your ears, as getting the constant positive feedback of the bodies and lives change from this, the videos, the coaching, and from the membership is what drives me to keep doing this for you. And I want you to pass along the good faith. If someone's passed on and gotten you onto the Fit Body Pro, I want you to share it on to somebody else. And I would love for you to also, and it would really put a smile on my dial, to join the team and help the Fit Body Pro grow to achieving what I want is to achieve and help the bodies and lives of 100 million people. And you can do that simply by leaving an iTunes review, because I want to eat up that feedback. So right now on your phone, on your computer, jump on and leave the Fit Body Pro podcast a 5-star review if you love it, but tell me what you're getting from it. Importantly, if you want to kickstart your fat loss, then the 14-day fat loss diet is waiting for you on fitbodypro.com. Or if you want to burn stubborn fat, or build and reveal a six-pack, or step on stage in the best shape of your life, there is also the ultimate prep guide. Again, a free guide that I'm giving away on fitbodypro.com, and I want you to use it straight away. So make sure you get it before I take it down. But even what we got right now, Mark and I, let's sink our teeth into it. My good man, Mark Ottobre, thank you so much for coming on to the Fit Body Pro podcast. I'm pumped to have you here. It has been years since you and I have properly connected, so I'm just happy to be talking to you, and I'm even more thrilled that we're going to be chatting and people can be listening to this, because I know you've got some really good insights about the topics of mindset, getting in shape, staying in shape, and a few other really crucial things. So, Mark, big thank you for coming on board, mate.
Well, thank you very much. I loved seeing the message, the Facebook message that you sent me. Let's do a podcast. I'm like, absolutely. It took me about 0.1 second to even contemplate, and you got a sure thing. Let's just make a time, and love to chat. So yeah, it has been a while since we've chatted, but it's great to speak to you today.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mark. Okay, so obviously before we start delving into it, mate, let's tell the listener, or you're going to tell the listener, who you are and why you're so phenomenal. To give a bit of a background, and obviously I know you've got some great achievements in the health and fitness world, especially with physique clients. Let's blow some smoke up your way, mate.
Thank you. Alrighty. So to give the listener kind of a 101, I'm just a dude who really likes training. I don't like putting myself up on a pedestal and above anyone else. There are too many gurus in our industry, number one, promote themselves with smoke mirrors and all the other kind of things, and have a lot of fancy dancy things around their name and their brand. But really, at the end of the day, it's all BS. They have to get their clients to work hard, eat well, and train hard, just like anyone else. And the ones that really, I suppose, promote that, the BS kind of stuff, their clients are always the ones to pay. So for me, I started competing in 2004. That was the very first show that I did. I was about 20 odd years old, 19, 20. I came last. I looked horrible. I was 68 kilos soaking wet on stage, just to give you an idea. I'm about 90 kilos now.
Well said, mate.
Yeah, clients will complain to me putting on, 2, 3, 4, 5 kilos, a couple of weeks after comp. I put on 14 in 3 days.
Oh.
So, yeah, boom, exactly. I was given some pretty ridiculous advice, including stop drinking water for 4 days, which I tried. Obviously, then did sauna as well. I mean, I was just emaciated on stage. I show in the seminars and internships that I run.
Yeah.
I show the pics of me on stage at 68 kilos, and people are like, "That's not you. That's ridiculous." I'm like, "No, that was me." Pretty much muscle wastage. I went through that, pretty rough, hard yard in that first comp, and I really felt like, that's not me, and I can do a lot better. So I decided to compete again. I went to the Muscle Messiah, Tony Doherty, and he helped me prep in 2005. And I did another couple of shows then, and I felt a lot better, and I looked a lot better, and still wasn't satisfied. I did that whole bulking thing in 2006 and just got, 98 kilos of just pure lard. So I had a lot of body fat to lose. And then I competed again in 2007, and Warren Clampett, who's won a Mr. Olympia in the INBA, he helped me with that, and I did a lot better, and really felt like I was quite lean. Probably I didn't come in as full as I could have. I should have carved up a little bit more. Obviously, hindsight's a beautiful thing.
No, isn't it always?
It is always. But I felt really happy with the way I got up on stage and looked and all that. And then for years after that, I'll be completely honest with everyone, I had what you'd call an eating disorder, a body dysmorphic issue. I didn't have anyone except myself to help. Like, I didn't really talk about it or go to anyone. But there was that thing. There was a lot of things that I had to figure out for myself because I didn't really know who to ask. Bodybuilding and social media at the time in 2007, it wasn't what it is today. You go online and there's, you can find 100 different coaches easy, which is a good and a bad thing. And you can
very true, mate.
I didn't have that. And, I started doing like NLP and hypnosis courses and looking at the work of John Demartini and all the professional and personal development. And I met a guy, George Mariolis at Definition Gym. When I met him, he started to connect the dots for me about, what off season is, what on season is. But really, I mean, there was a lot of lessons from a lot of different mentors. Probably one of the biggest was John Demartini, about who you become in the process. And, eventually I got it. And that's, basically what I teach my clients today. And it really all comes from a place of being, not doing, which we can talk about later. But I was supposed to give you the background. Obviously done all of Charles's stuff. I mean, I'm a PICP level 5. I trained Commonwealth Games gold medalists. I'm working with Olympians now. Trained Janet Kane. She's won 4 Australian titles. Been working with her since 2007 or 8. She won the Arnold's this year in 2015.
Fantastic.
She won the TEDx the year before. She's won 2 all-female shows. She won IFBB Miss Australasia rather. All the competitors I look after are 100% natural. So a lot of people ask questions about, is Janet this or that? All my clients are 100% natural. That's, I suppose, one of my niches is, that's what I do. And basically, obviously trained a couple of Mr. Australias too. And now, for me, the biggest thing is with my studio and all that, I do very little one-on-one work anymore. It's my staff that do it. So I put together all the systems and have given the systems to, my guys, hey, look, this is the way to prep someone. And we're now achieving, with our clients, first place, second place, third place. Clients are doing extremely, extremely well. So
fantastic.
I've had a lot of experience in the space. Also trained, a couple of clients for the Vegas comps, WNBF, whatever they call it. And he flew up, he came 7th out of a lineup of 50. So yeah, I've had a lot of experience with different divisions, different clientele, but I would say what we really specialize is in the female, particularly. And I think it's because I suppose my approach is a little bit, I'm not going to say esoteric because it's not like, I'm going to start umming and throw salt beads on you. But yeah, I suppose it is a little bit softer, and I think it resonates more with the female market, I suppose. And I suppose that's where our success has been, really. So yeah.
That's fantastic, mate. And I think it's a really good piece of advice. I think you've really said I think maybe that the way that you coach and the angle that you come with, you said it's a little bit softer, but I think that's just what, especially as you said, with the female clientele, that's maybe what they need. And I think especially with the topic that we're going to be covering today being mindset, I just think that is just so crucial. And
when I say softer, I don't mean softer as in, I don't push people when I train.
No, yeah.
Yeah, all I mean is that, when we go in, there's times where I've had people, and we can talk about this as well, where I've been very firm and said to people, do you want to be a loser your whole life?
Yeah.
Because if you keep going the way you're going to be one. And, so the approach is always very individualized, and that's not me being an arrogant asshole and
I think it's just saying the truth.
Someone down. It's actually relentlessly believing in them to make them believe in themselves.
Yeah.
And that's really where I come from. It's a very genuine place that I'm not going to give up on people. I want to carry them over that line and really help them get their goal.
Okay, now you've touched on something really great, and I think it shows it's a manly thing to be able to step up and say you were in a dark place once, and obviously having an eating disorder, and truthfully really looking at the competitive side in the fitness industry. Technically, I think a very, very large majority of people have eating disorders. Would you somewhat agree with me?
Yeah, well, this is the thing. I suppose let's go on this tangent. It's all about the person you become, because you can go online and you can buy a diet program. This is what I say to people all the time, is that there's really three modalities of ways of thinking about things and achieving your goals. You can focus on the have aspect, and I can see a picture of you on my Skype, and you've got great abs, you've got great chest, you've got great, and I can say, Chris, I'm going to come to you. I want to have great abs. Can you make me have great abs? And when people have that kind of language, I really feel it's like me saying, hey, Chris, I just bought a lottery ticket and
Yes.
I can't wait to win $1 million.
Yes.
It's not going to happen. Me saying to you, I want to have great abs. I haven't really invested myself in that. And then, some people will say to you, hey, Chris, you've got a great body. What can I do to have a body like you? Which for me is still very superficial, because you can write up a plan and you can tell me everything that I'm supposed to do. And, let's say we do it for 12 weeks and, let's say you work with a client who doesn't have that great of focus. They do it for 2 weeks. They get some results. And then, that third week, a friend offers them some cake and it's a birthday and they get off track, and then see you later. Another client, great resilience, might be able to do it for 12 weeks and you might have a great change, and, that's great. But what do they do after that 12 weeks? They go back to doing whatever they were doing beforehand, which leads to the same physique as what they had. So really, in my head, it was like, how do I solve this problem for myself? So as I was saying, I'm gluten and dairy free. There's actions that both you and I take that to us are effortless, but to others, they perceive that as great effort, that we're trying to do something, but we're not trying to do something. It's too hard. We wake up in the morning, we can't go train. We want to eat good foods. When we eat the wrong foods, we feel like crap, and we don't want to eat the wrong foods. And we're inspired, and we want to get the best out of our bodies and ourselves. So I started to look at things of who do I need to become. So this problem of my physique, my relationship with food, never becomes a problem again. So I started writing down all these affirmations, one of which was, I say it all the time on my websites, is I am a healthy person who eats healthy foods that build and nourish my body. When someone finishes a comp, you have things like reverse diet, reverse dieting and all these kind of things where people are counting calories and all that kind of stuff. A lot of the time, the only advice I give my clients post-comp is, remember when we spoke about, I have a football field analogy, but I remember when we spoke about initially what a healthy person eats.
Yeah.
And we spoke about food politics, and we spoke about, the way food gets to your plate. And we spoke about healthy foods. Well, remember the one affirmation that we shared, and that was, I'm a healthy person who eats healthy foods that build and nourish my body. After a comp, I want you to continue to make foods from that place. If you go out with friends and it's a birthday and you see a piece of cake and you're like, well, I haven't celebrated with my friends for 6 months because I've been dieting, what does the healthiest version of me say I should do? If the healthiest version of you says, enjoy the frickin' cake, have your cake, because it's not like you do it every day. So it's not just about, people who look at things like, you clean eaters. I don't label myself a clean eater. I don't have a need for these labels. I eat healthy foods that make sense. I relate it to iPhones and iMacs. The iPhone was made for the iMac. They sync perfectly. You could do something dumb like have an iMac and buy a Samsung Galaxy. Your calendar's not going to sync as well. The iTunes aren't going to sync, and all the apps aren't going to sync as well. You might have some overlap, but ultimately those devices aren't made for each other. And I think when we go back to the basics of what are the foods that really are made for our bodies, what are the foods that's supposed to be connected with our bodies, and we start to make foods from that, that's who we are. Second to that, we decide to compete. And that's where people, I think, they have an identity shift. So what happens is a lot of the time, so they say, yep, look, Chris, I want to do a comp. And now all of a sudden they get up on stage, they do a comp, they get off stage, and because their friends don't really know how to connect with them on any other level, apart from them being a competitor, they come straight up to them and they say, when are you doing your next comp? And they get a little bit confused, and they're very fragile in that moment. They're very impressionable in that moment because they've just had this experience of achieving a goal of competing. And then all of a sudden people are like, when are you doing your next one? They're like, I didn't even think of, but okay, yeah, I am, maybe I am a competitor. That's right, I am a fitness competitor. And all of a sudden their identity of who they are in this world becomes that of a bodybuilder, or becomes that of a competitor or fitness model, whatever you want to call it. But for some people, that is who they are. They are a bodybuilder, they are a fitness competitor. But for a lot of people who get up on stage, that's not them. At their core, they were first a healthy person who enjoyed training. Then they had a goal to compete. They competed, and really they deep down didn't have a desire to compete again. They just wanted to get on. They just wanted to achieve this goal of competing. When you have champions like Janet Kane, she is 100% focused champion. That is who she is. But for every Janet Kane that I get probably 10 people who just want to do it once. And I think as coaches, what people miss a lot of the time is to make that okay. And that's something I say to all the guys we train is, this could be your last comp and it's okay. You don't have to compete again. People, and I warn every time I run a How to Train the Female internship, I warn all the people there. I go, when you compete and get up on stage, the first thing people are going to say to you is, when are you competing again? You need to have an answer for that. The answer is, you know what? I'm competed once. I only get back to healthy eating, good training, and I'll decide what I do from there. Instead of this identity shift. And that's what I really went through for a while is, I competed in bodybuilding and I did 6 shows and I became a bodybuilder and I became obsessed with the bodybuilding culture and, adapted their eating methods. But you know what? A lot of the things that bodybuilders eat, traditionally that are sold to us by bodybuilding magazines, my body absolutely hates.
Yeah.
And it does nothing for my body except make me puffy, fat, and inflamed. So I had to go back to, I'm a healthy person. I eat healthy foods that build and nourish my body. What are those foods for me? And then making decisions from there. But another key part I think that a lot of competitors miss is where our food actually comes from. And I think when it comes to food, and this was a pivotal point for me as well, is socially when you go out and you talk about, let's say you and I, we go out, we order, we're not fussy. To us, we're not fussy with our food, but to the average person, we would be perceived as fussy when we ask for things like dairy-free, gluten-free, please give me lots of meat, give me lots of greens, how much rice is there, et cetera, et cetera. When you go out and you're a competitor, and it's just about your physique, society and your friends who don't know any better will tear you down and say, oh, it's always about your physique. You're always on a freaking diet. Why can't you just be normal, right? And that term normal to me really is like, are you freaking serious? You want to talk about normality?
Yeah.
Because what you're eating and what I'm eating, even what I'm eating, certainly isn't normal. And what you're eating is, as far from normal as normal can get. When we really look at where our food comes from, the average piece of food will travel a couple of 1,000 kilometers just to get to your plate. And it's certainly not normal raising cows on grain. Cows are supposed to eat grass. So organic is what is normal, not spraying. Tomatoes, for example, a prime example is with tomatoes. Tomatoes are picked, sprayed with don't know the chemical name of the agent, but basically what it is, it's a hormone that makes the tomatoes ripen slowly. So if you get your average tomato from, let's say, Coles or Woolworths or whatever it is, that tomato has taken 8 months months to get there. They pick it when it's green, basically, and they spray it in the truck, and then they deliver it to you. And that's why a lot of tomatoes that you get in Coles or Woolworths are completely tasteless. And a lot of the time, people will bite into them, and they're not ripe yet, but on the outside, they look really ripe. I mean, this is just one example of hundreds with our food industry of what is actually happening. So when we get, I mean, that's the example of a tomato. Okay, so I'm talking about something that grows from the ground. So when we start moving towards things that are, in packages, for example, let's say Kellogg's cornflakes, the parts removed from that being a natural or normal product is so far removed. And I always put it into relative terms in that, we are designed to eat things that are hunted, fish, gathered, and plucked. And you've probably heard this 100 times, but, basically, the last 10,000 years, we introduced grains into our diet. The last 100 years, our food became about money. It became about food corporations making money, right? And really controlling a food industry. And to date, I mean, it's the conglomerates, the corporate conglomerates that really control our food, like Monsanto, ADM, Cargill. I mean, in Australia, you certainly have Woolworths and Coles, which controls, between them, they control 70% of the retail food consumer market. So, I mean, that's enormous. It's 70%.
That's huge, isn't it?
And Coles and Woolies, they know the power they have.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they're even buying up land, vacant lots of land in a lot of different areas so that their competitors like Woolworths, no, not Woolworths, Aldi's can't
actually
compete with them.
Wow.
Exactly right. They can't open up and be competitive. And I think they are somewhat scared of the local farmer because people are starting to turn more to the local farm. And you see this with raw milk as well, where people are, not wanting the commercial crap. People are getting educated. And I had a girl on my video. I did a video interview with her, and we spoke all about what's happening with raw milk at the moment. And she pointed out some really good facts about farming. But anyway, I know I'm going a little bit of a tangent about food corporations.
Great.
But the reason why I go there is because competitors get off stage and they'll say things like, I want to be normal again. So why can't I eat tofu? It's like, well, hang on, tofu, how is that normal? So we have the soybean, and then it goes through. Tofu is an amazingly processed food. Like it's like ridiculous amount of steps that the soybean has to go through to get tofu. And it's like, well, what do you mean you have to? And why can't I have milk? And I'm just like, well, hang on. You can have all of these foods, but just remember, these foods are not normal. Like having commercial milk, and this might challenge some of the listeners, is not normal. To give you just to go backtrack about that, because some people might go say, "Well, what is Mark talking about?"
Yeah.
Commercial dairy, for example. Well, number one, we have an allowance for pus in our milk. And the reason for the allowance of pus is because cows are fed grains. Cows aren't supposed to eat grains, folks. They're supposed to eat grass. Because of that, the CLA content in the milk, which CLA is one of the most cancer protective agents we know, and also it's very beneficial and for fat loss and muscle gains and all these other functions that it is so critical with CLA, that is all virtually non-existent in commercial milk. Because the cow is fed grains. Just to give you an idea in terms of volume consumption, if a cow is fed grass, in the same period of time, if it's fed grains, it will produce 22,000 litres of milk. If it was fed grass in that time, it would only produce 8,000 litres of milk. So for the farmer, where you look at, let's say, Coles, who do the $1 milk promotions and all this kind of thing, you got to think about how much does the farmer have to sell a litre of milk from to make profit? The average annual income for a farmer in Australia is $12,000. That's average. Most lose money. So you have a couple of small farms that make some money, but not most. For something that basically feeds us the most, I think, basic of human functions, we don't pay off. We don't give our farmers anything. It's because the corporations are always dumbing down, or trying to get the farmer's revenue down or the costs down. And you see this with milk. So to do that, of course, the farmer is then forced to feed the cow grains, which the cow obviously, isn't good for. Then, you've got the antibiotics that are inevitable because you're feeding an animal something that it's not supposed to naturally eat. Then you have the pus. Then you have the processing. And everyone thinks about their, 1 litre of milk in their fridge, and they think, okay, yeah, this came from one cow. Well, newsflash, it came from 10,000 cows. It's kind of like all of us peeing in the same, 100,000 different people peeing in the same pot, right? It's what the hell is that? So you've got 10,000 different cows. I mean, that then gets on a truck, driven, then goes to the processing plant. Then you've got pasteurization, homogenization, and then you've got the bastardization, which is when we add back, because obviously the pasteurization, homogenization part of that really leaves the milk void
killing off.
Correct, right? And then you have ultra pasteurization, which is where it's boiled well above, and really everything is absolutely killed. And that's when you have like super long shelf life of milk. But because we do that, basically we then have to resynthesize and put synthetic vitamins back into it. Then calcium, vitamin D. That's why you see like physical. Now we've added vitamin D.
Yeah, it shouldn't have it in there.
Well, why does it have synthetic versions when we could just get it from the real thing? Well, it has to, because it's not in there. And then you have calcium that's now unabsorbable and causes problems. And I mean, we see this, but well, don't you need milk for healthy bones? And it's like, well, anecdotally, we see that Western society are the highest consumers of dairy products in the world, yet have the highest rates of osteoporosis. If you look at Asian culture, Japanese, for example, lowest rates of osteoporosis, lowest consumption of dairy in I think one of the lowest in the world. And certainly, again, I mean, there's been articles published on the fact that the calcium that's in the commercialized milk that we buy is not absorbable. So the point that I'm getting at with that, I suppose, long convoluted rant about dairy, I'm giving you guys examples of, we take a food and we assume that this is normal. And a lot of the time, milk, for so many people around the world, and Australia obviously, will say, milk is normal, why can't I have milk? Well, you can have milk, but you're not going to keep the physique that you work so hard for the couple of weeks to get yourself on stage. I mean, you can do that. It's a free country. You can do whatever you want to your body, but don't have this delusion that you're going to be able to stay in this shape and do that. And it's not a thing of you're missing out or you're giving yourself a metabolic damage by not having these foods. It just simply comes back down to re-educating yourself on and redefining what normal actually is. And I think those who achieve excellence in any endeavor are constantly redefining what normal is and constantly redefining their standards. And I think that's a really positive thing.
I think that's a great thing. And it reminds me of just something that I had a bit of a mentor tell me, and I kind of always try and bring it up with myself, is question everything. Like, why are you following this? Why do you think you need to do this? Why is your goal this? Do you know what I mean? Like, question these things, because when you actually start asking the right questions, that's when you get the right answers.
Yeah. So just to kind of go back a little bit to get to what you're actually saying and actually answer a question for once.
It was a good tangent. I think we both enjoyed it. It was good.
Yeah. In bodybuilding magazines, for example, you read about Vince Gironda and you'll say, oh, Vince Gironda, got all these athletes to drink milk. And it's like, okay, and Arnold drank milk. It's like, okay, well, if Arnold drank milk, I'm supposed to drink milk, right? It's like, well, hang on, what's the milk that they drank? They drank raw milk.
Yeah.
What do we have? We've got commercial crap. So
I will say something like, I just cannot handle dairy whatsoever. Like, I just know, and I've known for years as well, because I like, my dad has always just known he just can't eat cheese, and he's just always been off it. Obviously, as a child, I grew up drinking a lot of milk. Do you know what I mean? Like, God, I remember growing up with stacks of Vegemite toast and milk and Milo. Like, that was a stock standard. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because that's what's normal, hey?
Exactly right. But it's funny because, like, I just don't go near dairy. I just can't eat it, and I've got no dramas with it. Actually, to tell you the truth, I can eat ice cream, and I don't know why, but I can handle it. Exactly right. But like, milk cannot do. And I will say, if I drink raw milk, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same.
Absolutely fine. And I know you're not allowed to drink raw milk, but I'm going to say, hey, I have, and it's and I was really cautious the first time. Like, it was put in front of me, and I was like, oh no, I can't do it. And they were like, no, like, have a go. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, so I went actually for a few weeks. I was kind of doing a bit of a gain protocol, and I was drinking a liter of raw milk a day, and my stomach was fine with it.
Yeah, it's normally the case. Actually, the lady Rebecca from the Australian raw milk movement.
Yep.
She interviewed 1,000 of her customers about the difference between raw milk and commercial milk and what they found. And I've got the full report at the gym, but it's quite amazing some of the things that her clients were reporting about her milk. And exactly what you were saying is that most people who couldn't handle the commercial milk are fine with raw milk. It's unfortunate what's happening now in Australia, but hopefully there'll be a silver lining.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. Yeah. Okay, now let's go. I would love to just kind of get a couple of magic nuggets from you on the mindset of not a competitor, but someone wanting to get in good shape and also stay in that shape as well. Not going through the confusion of what to do, but not going through the frustrations of the world, because I think that's something that we can give some great insights on.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, first of all, I think it's about, a lot of it comes about accepting. I'm just going to say this, is that we look at people like, let's say, Bill Gates, who's, multi-billionaire, and say, oh, he's fortunate. And maybe even some people will be as deluded to say he's lucky. Well, it's like, he's not lucky. He's not fortunate. He worked his freaking ass off. And he still works his ass off. And he gets up earlier and he does the research and he puts the work effort in. And it's like, well, you got to accept the fact that he does what it takes to be where he is. And I think it's exactly the same thing when it comes to you look at someone whose physique you admire. Unfortunately, a lot of people look at someone whose physique and say, oh, yeah, they're just taking drugs, and they just kind of snub it off. It's like, no. They're not just taking drugs, and they're probably not even taking drugs.
It's sad, isn't it, that people say that?
It is sad. They're waking up at the crack of dawn, let's say 5 a.m. They're getting to the gym, they're training, they're preparing meals, and they're working a full day, and they're coming home and they have family, they have kids. I'll give you an example. Janet, prime example. She's married. She's been married for 25 odd years. She's got 2 kids. She has to get up early. That's the only way she can prepare her food. So we have people come in, bitch and moan, I have to prepare my food. Yeah, well, so does everyone who wants to achieve something. I have to, take 2 hours out of my day to train. Yeah, well, so do I. So does Janet. So does everyone. Yeah. You can either bitch and moan about it, and that's why I say it starts with accepting. You have to accept that there is something that you're going to have to give up for that. And that might be, watching your soapies or watching a TV program. So, or doing something, relaxing or whatever people do these days when they're not out trying to achieve something. So I think it really starts about accepting the fact that the people around you who have those results are busting their ass. And of course you have the outliers of the people who, are genetically gifted and eat absolute crap and don't train properly and they still look amazing. And yes, they're always going to be there. And you're always going to know one person who smokes a pack of ciggies a day and drinks a bottle of vodka and goes out and gets wasted and doesn't train properly and trains once a fortnight and still looks amazing. You have those people as well, but they're the outliers. They're the exceptions. Let's put those people aside. Let's look at the people who, really have to bust their ass to maintain a level of standard. So I think that's where it begins. And then if we look at that kind of person and we start to break down the attitudes and beliefs that they have about their body. And I used to write for Muscle Mag, so I was fortunate enough to go around Victoria and basically interview a lot of different bodybuilders and ask them a lot about their mentality as it related to food and their bodies and training. And most people said to me, I said, how do you view food? What's your relationship like with food? And they would say, food is just fuel. They didn't have this emotional, I have to eat this, or, there's probably some foods that they had to eat and they were emotional about, but mostly it was just like, it's just for the purpose. It's for the purpose of me achieving my goal, of me getting up on stage, of me looking lean. And, even as you said, the question, it's more about general. It's for the purpose of, I think your body is a vessel which contains the spirit and essence of you. This is where the esoteric part kicks in, right? You are a vessel. You host your essence, if that makes sense. Yep. Wisdom to me is making sure that vessel is as energetic and as lively and as fluent as possible to express the best version of you, because you are not your body. You are much more than that. And I think, wisdom is allowing the house or the function of that expression to be as magnificent as possible. So for me, eating the right foods is just simply wisdom to be able to express my true self. Anything less than that, well, frankly, it's unacceptable, because I want to be able to express my true self 365 days a year, 24/7. Mm-hmm. So this is where the perspective change comes in. Is it about me missing out? No, it's not about you missing out. It's about you being the very best that you can be and really, truly expressing all that you're capable of. Does that mean you're never going to eat ice cream? No, it doesn't mean you're never going to eat ice cream. It just means that you're not going to take the piss with these things. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, absolutely, mate. No, I think it was fantastic, and it's really good advice that I think people really need to take on board as well. Like, this is the stuff that people need to get. They don't need to learn a new bicep curl. They don't need to.
No, because once you get the mindset right, you're gonna hang around those people anyway. Yeah. You're going to eat those foods. I mean, to me, all of that is semantics at the end of the day, to be perfectly frank. Yeah. What you do with that stuff, it's like, well, people have got big doing low reps, people have got people doing high reps, people have got lean on high fat, people have got lean on high carbs. It's like you will figure it out. What you might not figure out is the attitudes and belief system that comes along with that to be able and enable you to ask the right questions and to be around the right people who will give you the right answers. Because if I meet a guy like you, let's say for example, and I've got a stinking attitude and I just always complain to you that it's all too hard and Chris, I'm not growing and blah blah blah. You're not going to really be that enthusiastic about me being your client. But on the flip side, if I come in half hour early and I'm like, Chris, this is what I've been doing with my food, and I become almost like an explorer about my health and fitness. I've noticed, Chris, that when I do low reps, I get really sore legs, but when I do high reps on my biceps, I don't really respond as well. Do you think I should switch that up? And you're much more excited to work with me because I have that energy and enthusiasm, and I'm really invested in the process, which is so important. And that comes from the attitudes and mindset. It doesn't come from me reading online about the best bicep exercise.
Yes, exactly right, mate. No, I think it's been absolutely brilliant advice, Mark. I absolutely appreciate this so much, mate, because this is what people need to really sink their teeth into and grasp, because this is what counts. Do you know what I mean? This is when you start putting all that other stuff together. This is what you need at the end of the day. So this is fantastic, mate. I'm absolutely thrilled. Now, before I let you go, Mark, how can people learn more about you and everything that you're doing?
Yeah, sure. There's a few different ways, but before I lose this thought, I just wanted to share one more gem, and that is the quality of your life is based on the quality of the questions that you ask. So, I used to have that posted and look at that every day to make sure that I was always asking good questions. But yeah, where people can learn about me. So I've got my blog, which is maximusmark.com. We do some posting there. Most of the posting these days is done at our Enterprise Fitness website, which is obviously the studio that I own. Basically, it's just melbournepersonaltrainers.com is actually the URL. So you can go there. Got post almost every day. Well, we do post every day on Facebook. We make heaps of videos. Our YouTube channel is very, very active. We have heaps of videos on YouTube. I don't know how. It's easily over 150, and we add more to that all the time. There's a free ebook download on the Enterprise Fitness website. What else? Just Facebook me, Mark Ottobre, Ottobre. Add me as a friend and just send me a private message that you heard me on this podcast and you wanted to connect on Facebook. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of.
Fantastic, mate. Mark, thank you so much. From myself and from the listener, I'm really appreciative, really grateful that you've been able to take the time out for us and been able to really let loose on some great insights.
Well, thank you very much, Chris. Thanks for having me on.
You've just been dished up another phenomenal Fit Body Pro episode by Chris Dufay. Now what you need to do is go to fitbodypro.com to get the free diet plans, training programs, and insights you cannot get anywhere else. The entire Fit Body Pro team is giving you exactly what you need to build the body you want, faster, easier, and without the fuss.